When Ifeoma's beauty caught the eyes of a rich man, she thought her laziness would no longer matter. Little did she know it would cost her everything. Dear viewers, do you think beauty is enough to hold a man? Let's find out in Ifeoma's story. Once upon a time, in a particular village, there lived a young girl named Ifeoma, known far and wide for her beauty. Her long dark hair flowed like a river, and her smile could light up any room. But despite her charm and grace, Ifeoma had a flaw that everyone whispered about: her extreme laziness. While other girls of her age helped their mothers fetch water, sweep the compound, and prepare meals, Ifeoma would lie in bed all day, browsing her phone or admiring herself in the mirror. Her mother, Mama Ifeoma, was a hard-working woman who tried everything to instill some responsibility in her daughter, but it was to no avail. Why should I wash dishes when I can just get married and have maids to do that for me? Ifeoma would say with a smile, dismissing her mother's pleas. As the years went by, Ifeoma's laziness became notorious in the village. People would shake their heads and as they saw her strolling around shamelessly, while her mother struggled alone at home. One day, Ifeoma's beauty caught the eyes of Musa, a wealthy and influential businessman from the city. He was smitten with her, unaware of her laziness. After a few weeks of courtship, he proposed, and Ifeoma accepted with glee. "See, mother," she bragged, "I told you I would marry a rich man. Now you wouldn't have to worry about me doing house chores anymore." Mama Ifeoma sighed, knowing deep down that marriage was not just about wealth or beauty, but character and responsibility. The wedding was a grand affair. Ifeoma looked like a queen as she entered Musa's mansion, believing her life would now be a fairy tale. For a few months, everything seemed perfect. Maids catered to her every need, and Ifeoma reveled in her luxurious life. However, it didn't take long for her true color to show. She refused to treat the maids with kindness, often bossing them around, making unreasonable demands, and leaving messes for them to clean. Musa began to notice her lack of respect for the staffs and her unwillingness to manage the household property. She spent all her days lounging in bed, obsessed with social media and ignoring her husband's needs or the running of the home. One day, Musa came home to find the house in disarray, the maids looking frustrated and Ifeoma laundry in her sick robe, scrolling on her phone. "Ifeoma, we need to talk," Musa said sternly, his unusual warm tone replaced by disappointment. "This is not how a wife behaves. You treat everyone here like they are beneath you, and you do nothing to contribute to the home." Ifeoma, shocked that her husband would speak to her in such a way, scoffed, "I married you to live in luxury, not to be a maid. Isn't that why we have staffs?" Musa, shocked, shook his head. "Ifeoma, marriage is a partnership. It's not about being waited on hand and foot. It's about respect, responsibility, and love. I've given you everything, but all you have given me is embarrassment and disrespect." That night, Musa made a decision. He packed Ifeoma's belongings and took her back to her mother's house. Weeks passed after Ifeoma returned to her mother's house, and the village buzzed with gossip. Everyone had heard of her fall from grace. They whispered about how the beautiful bride, who once flaunted her marriage to a wealthy man, was now back in the small village, stripped of all her riches. Ifeoma's pride had been shattered, and with each passing day, she was forced to confront the reality of her action. At first, Ifeoma was disobedient. She stayed in her room most days, angry at Musa for sending her away and at the villagers for their mockery whisper. "You see, my daughter," Mama Ifeoma said gently, "no amount of beauty or wealth can replace a good character. You cannot escape the responsibility of life. You must learn to be humble and hardworking if you want to build a good home." Realizing the truth in her mother's word, Ifeoma began to change. She started helping around the house, learning to cook, clean, and take responsibility for her actions. Slowly, the villagers saw a different Ifeoma, one who was no longer proud and lazy, but humble and hardworking. Though her marriage has failed, Ifeoma found redemption in her newfound humility and strength. She understood that wealth and luxury could come and go, but character and kindness were what truly matters. One afternoon, as she was sweeping the compound, a familiar figure appeared at their compound. It was Musa. Ifeoma's heart skipped a beat. What was he doing here? She hadn't heard from him since the day he sent her back home. Her initial reaction was anger. Anger at the man who had discarded her so easily. But as Musa approached, she could see that something had changed in him too. He stood before her, looking at the woman who had once been his lazy, arrogant wife. But the Ifeoma before him now was different. Her posture was humble, her hands callous from work, and her face no longer carried the pride that once defined her. "I have heard of your change," Musa said softly. "I didn't believe it at first, but I see now it's true." Ifeoma stayed silent, unsure of what to say. "I made a mistake," Musa continued, "in thinking that sending you away would fix everything, but it seems that time apart has done more than I ever imagined. You've become the woman I have always hoped you to be." Tears welled up in Ifeoma's eyes, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of gratitude, of reflection on the journey she had been through. "I was wrong, Musa," she said, her voice trembling. "I thought being beautiful and marrying you would be enough. I didn't realize that without character and responsibility, everything falls apart." Musa nodded, stepping closer. "I came to ask for a second chance. Ifeoma, if you will have me, I want us to rebuild what we lost. Not with words, but with love, respect, and partnership." Ifeoma looked at him, her heart full of emotions. Quick place. But this time, she wasn't driven by pride or the desire for luxury. She was a different woman, and she knew that if they were to build a life together, it had to be based on more than just wealth and appearance. "I would like that," she finally said, a small smile forming on her lips. "But this time, we do it right." Musa smiled back, relief and joy flooding his face. They stood there in the modest village compound, no longer the wealthy bride and her rich husband, but two people ready to start a new life with lessons learned and hearts changed. From that day forward, Ifeoma and Musa worked together to rebuild their life, this time on the foundation of humility, love, and respect. Ifeoma never forgot the lesson she had learned at her mother's side, and in the end, she found that true worth wasn't in gold or riches, but in the strength of one's character.